wanderers. You found your way back to Dusk and Dreams. I'm Wild Dragons tonight, your myth spinner, shadow walker, and lunar guide. And oh, what a night it is to prowl. The moon is full, round as a watchful eye, silver as a blade. Tonight she shines not gently, but fiercely, wildly. She doesn't just light the sky, she awakens things. Werewolves may get all the headlines, but they're only one chapter in a much older, stranger story of lunar power. Around the world, the full moon has long been a trigger for transformation, deep mystery, even madness. Why do we fear her? Why are we so powerfully drawn to her? Why does her unseen pull stir the oceans, our very blood, and the wildest parts of our dreams? Tonight we go moonbound to explore creatures woven from pure lunar lore. We'll meet the melancholic Rusalki from Slavic forests, the elegant Tsukumogami from Japan who shimmer under moonbeams, the ancient Fae-riders of Celtic hills, and the powerful Nagual of Mesoamerica. We'll follow their folklore across continents and ask what these shimmering, sometimes dangerous myths say about us, the parts of us that only truly wake under moonlight. So if you're ready, take a breath. Bare your heart. Let your senses sharpen and come hunting with me. The moon is our witness. Before we chase the creatures, we have to talk about the moon itself, not as a mere rock in space, not as a simple calendar marker, but as a living force, alive, poetic, deeply gravitational. She's a mirror in the sky that sees all, and more importantly, reveals what daylight prefers to hide. Since the dawn of humanity, the moon has been more than just a light in the dark. She's been a constant presence, a rhythm maker, a heartbeat for the world. We measure our months by her cycle. We feel our own blood, and emotions respond to her tides. Farmers plant by her glow. And across nearly every culture, when the moon is full, the stories shift. The world feels different. It's no coincidence that lunacy and lunar share the same ancient root. The full moon has long been blamed for sleeplessness, unpredictable behavior, and sudden awakenings of both body and mind. Even today, some emergency room nurses swear the night of the full moon brings more chaos, more cries, more intense energy. But the moon isn't just a bringer of wildness or madness. She's a profound revealer, a revealer of secrets, of shadows, of ourselves. Too, she has worn many names, and each one is a spell, a story, a shadow. Lunatic, from the Latin lunaticus, moonstruck. They said the moon pulled on the mind the way it pulled the tides. In medieval asylums, records whispered of nights where the full moon stirred chaos in the soul. The mind, they said, was a mirror to the moon. Tsukimi. In Japan, it means moon viewing. Picture it, a quiet autumn night, rice dumplings offered beneath glowing lanterns, and a family sitting in stillness, watching the full moon rise like a pearl from the sea of sky. It is not worship, it is witnessing. Selene, the Greek goddess of the moon, her name lives on in selenite, the pale crystal said to cleanse the spirit. Selene drove her chariot of silver across the heavens each night, pulling darkness behind her like a velvet cape. Some say you can still see the ruts of her wheels etched in the clouds. Chandra, Sanskrit for moon, a word spoken like a prayer, soft and shining. In Indian myths, Chandra was radiant with beauty and grace, but cursed to wane by night and rise again. Just like us, always fading, always returning. Every name the moon has been given carries with it a dream, a fear, a question. Language keeps her myths alive, and with every word she speaks back, and how she speaks has been translated through the ages and around the globe. In Celtic lore, the full moon is seen as a potent moment of crossing, when the boundary between our world and the unseen realms thins. Spirits, fae, and deep night creatures stir. It's believed to be the very hour when the wild hunt rides, when hidden doors creak open in hollow hills, and when animals and humans shed their masks to reveal their truest forms. In West African myth, the moon governs sacred rhythms. She is often seen as the watchful eye of elder divine forces, witnessing everything in silent power. In Chinese tradition, the moon embodies yin energy, feminine, fluid, reflective, a perfect counterbalance to the sun's bright yang. Her fullness is a time of reunion, deep beauty, and sometimes profound heartbreak. So why do full moons make the skin prickle and the dreams grow teeth? Because her light reveals, but not gently. The full moon doesn't coddle. She exposes. She shines a fierce light on the cliff edge of transformation, that raw moment where instinct wins out over performance, where the masks slip, where you remember you have claws. She pulls the tide, and since we're primarily made of water, of course she pulls us too. So tonight, as we begin our journey through folklore's wild children of the moon, ask yourself this: what part of you wakes under her glow? What dream beast lives in your chest and howls only when no one's listening? Because every creature we meet tonight, whether dangerous or divine, is a mirror, a shimmering fragment of our deeper nature, truly seen only in silver light. Let's take a moonlit journey across continents, shall we? Because once you start looking, you'll see it. The moon touches every myth, every landscape, every beast that creeps just beyond the campfire. And under her glow, some creatures awaken with profound beauty, others with teeth. First stop, the old rivers of Eastern Europe, to the Slavic forests where fog clings low, and the rivers run deep, dark and cold. Here, under the gaze of the full moon, the Rusalki stir. By day they lie still, curled in the reeds, draped across sunken logs like forgotten silk. But by night, when the moon climbs high and spills its ghost light across the current, they rise, sirens of sorrow, daughters of grief. In some tales, they are the souls of women who died unjustly, drowned brides, betrayed lovers, girls taken too soon. In others, they are simply nature spirits, neither good nor evil, but forever bound to the flow of water and the powerful pulse of the moon. Always beautiful, always dangerous. In Slavic folklore, Rusalki are water spirits, or water revenants, creatures who come from still lakes and murky rivers on moonlit nights. Some say they rise to dance in moon-drenched glades. Others say they lure wandering men with haunting lullabies, only to pull them beneath the cold, dark waves. There's an old story told by river folk, a tale that shifts and ripples like the current itself, but always begins the same way. A lone fisherman, Luca, whose heart beat heavier than his nets. He fished not just for carp and pike, but for memories, trying desperately to forget the lover who had vanished one spring. One midsummer night, with the moon a white coin tossed into the vast sky, Luca sat on the riverbank, mending a fishing line. The air was still, too still. Then he heard it. Soft laughter, not cruel, not yet, just playful, lilting. He looked up, nothing, only the shimmering path of the moon on the water. Then again, laughter, closer now, feminine, strange. Drawn by sound and sorrow, Luca followed it along the bank, where mist curled around his ankles like grasping fingers. A song rose, haunting, wordless, almost like a lullaby sung through a hollow reed. And then he saw her, pale as moonlight, hair drifting like river grass, eyes deep as the lake's floor. She smiled. He never saw the others, half submerged, circling behind her in the dark water. He never noticed the reeds wrapping around his ankles, soft as a caress, not until it was too late. When villagers found his boat adrift the next morning, his boots were still inside. But Luca was gone. It said he followed her willingly, pulled by the echoes of his lost love. The lore says the Rusalki only prey on the guilty. But most, guilty and innocent, just stay far away from the river on full moon nights and leave offerings of bread and salt by the shore, just in case. The Rusalki are both predator and poetry, grief made beautiful, sorrow sharpened into a blade. They are the embodiment of duality, the yearning to be seen, and the hunger to punish those who looked and did not love. So if you ever hear laughter rising from the shallow waters, sweet, sad, and strange, look away and run. Then again, it's also said not all Rusalki are cruel. In some tales, they seek simply peace, or just to be seen, reflected in moonlight, where their sorrow glows with a strange beauty. The Rusalka teaches us this. Not all creatures of the moon are simple monsters. Some are ancient wounds that sing, spirits that shimmer, beauty laced with compelling danger. Now, let's follow the moon east to old Kyoto, Japan. It's the kind of night when the alleys run ink black and the cobblestones gleam like obsidian beneath the silver wash of a full moon. The lanterns that usually guide temple goers have all been extinguished, all but one. This one is different. Tucked beneath the sagging eaves of a forgotten tea house, a small paper lantern, its frame warped by time, its crimson tassels faded, sits alone. No one has lit it in decades, but tonight it flickers, once, twice, then glows. Its flame rises not from oil, but from memory, from the breath of time itself. You see, this is no ordinary lantern. It's a Tsukumogami, a spirit born from objecthood. In Japanese folklore, when a tool, an item, or a cherished heirloom reaches 100 years of age, it awakens. Given enough history, enough hands to pass through, enough nights under moonlight, it becomes sentient, a soul wrapped in silk and wire and wax, and tonight the moon has called it forth. Watch it wobble gently in the breeze, then slowly spin, its shadow dancing across the walls. Is it remembering a summer festival from long ago? A child who once carried it laughing through Gion's streets? A promise whispered beneath its glow? Or is it simply being, now fully awakened to its own strange, quiet life? The Tsukumogami remind us of something tender and easily forgotten, that every object carries the echo of hands, breath, and story, that even what we discard may be watching, that the moon sees everything, not just us, but what we make and what we leave behind. And under her gaze, nothing is ever truly lifeless. So, the next time the full moon spills across your windowsill and a spoon rattles in the sink or a curtain flutters with no breeze, pause. You might not be alone. Next, let's fly west, across to the green hills of Celtic lore. Into mist-drenched moorlands and moss-veiled hills we go, to the ancient lands of the Celts, where the veil between worlds is always thinner, and where, under the full moon, that veil all but vanishes entirely. Here, the night doesn't sleep, it gathers. In the ancient lore of Ireland and Scotland, the moon is not just a watcher, it is a door, a beacon, a powerful summons. It is said that under the full moon, the Fae courts hold their wild revels. Paths hidden in daylight suddenly spring open across the heather. Time itself turns strange and fluid. The seelie and unseelie hosts stir, one court gleaming with playful mischief, the other dripping with pure menace. And riding at the very heart of that moonlit tide is the Sluag Sida, the terrifying host of the dead. These aren't your ancestors in gentle repose, no. These are restless spirits, twisted by longing and exile, forever tied to the land. They ride on phantom horses across the sky, their cries like wind screaming through ancient stone. If you hear rustling wings above you on a clear, moonlit night, don't look up. And for the love of your name, don't follow the music. But not all ride the sky. Some haunt the land. There's an older tale still, one that's passed in the low whispers at firesides, when the wind howls against thatch. A traveler, let's call him Emrys, was returning late from a neighboring village. He'd stayed too long over cider and story, and now the road home was fogged, the moon full and cold. He walked alone, the crunch of his boots swallowed by mist. Then, hoofbeats, slow at first, measured, not ahead, not behind, all around. He froze, fog swirled like breath, and from its folds a figure emerged, tall, robed, faceless beneath a hood, on a great black horse whose eyes flickered like coals. Then came others, shadowed riders. And behind them, hounds, enormous, mottled with mist. Their eyes, blue fire. These were the Queen Anyan, the hounds of the Otherworld, omen bringers, soul hunters. In some stories, they gently escort the dying. In others, they hunt the lost, those who have strayed too far from the known path, or who hold dark secrets. Emrys stepped off the road, bowed his head, spoke no word. The riders passed, so did the hounds. But one, they say, turned its head and smiled. The Celts did not see the moon's creatures as simply monsters. They were potent messengers of fate, of death, of deep transformation. If they came, it was not always to punish. Sometimes they came to remind of the wildness we forget, of the ancient promises we made to the land, of the old ways still echoing under our feet. So if you ever find yourself walking the moor beneath a full moon, and you hear hoofbeats where there should be none, step gently and remember who you are. For the lesson here, some moonborn beings don't bite, they invite. But the cost of that dance may be your name, your time, or even your very soul. And now we journey farther south to the heartlands of ancient Mesoamerica, where the moon was not just a watcher, but a profound catalyst for transformation. Here dwell the Nagual, shapeshifters of deep power, part myth, part spiritual truth. They appear in Nahuatl and Zapotec lore as human beings who share a soul-bound connection to a powerful animal, most often a jaguar, coyote, or owl. By day, they are often elders, healers, or protectors within their community. But under the full moon, they change, not out of curse, but a sacred calling. Let me tell you a tale the wind still tells in some mountain villages. On the edge of a cloud-wrapped village, there lived an old woman named Teka. Her bones creaked. Her voice was soft. She brewed herbs for the sick and left quiet offerings at the base of ancient ceiba trees. Children loved her. Outsiders often dismissed her. But on the nights of the full moon, when wind rustled mysteriously through the banana leaves and the dogs fell completely silent, she would slip from her hut barefoot and humming. She walked alone to the ridge above the village, and there, beneath the silver light, she would change. Her back straightened, her eyes glowed with an inner fire, her shape blurred, and where the woman once stood, a magnificent jaguar now padded forward. Silent, powerful, moon-bathed. It was said she guarded the fields, unseen, watched over those in fever dreams, and when threats came from beyond the valley, they never made it far. They were found days later, terrified, yet physically unharmed, speaking only of glowing yellow eyes in the mist. And when the sun rose, Teka was back at her door, ladling soup, humming lullabies. The Nagual is not a monster. It is a powerful mirror, a reminder that we are far more than just flesh and fear, that we carry old, wild powers beneath our very skin, and that under the full moon, our truest, most authentic selves may rise. In this way, the Nagual speaks to the same profound moonlight truth as the Rusalka, the Tsukumogami, the Moon-riders of the Celtic hills, that what we ignore by daylight may awaken beautifully by moonlight, that not all transformations are evil, some are truly sacred, and that the wildness we often repress, it might just be the part that saves us. We've chased moonlight through Europe, Asia, the misty green of Celtic hills, but we're not done yet. The moon's mythological pull is global, elemental, older than any name ever spoken. Across Africa, South America, and the Arctic North, the moon is more than just a phase in the sky. It is a signal, a mirror, a gate to deeper understanding. Let's follow it a little further. In Zimbabwean folklore, the Zvidhoma are not creatures you stumble across. They stalk you. They are cunning hunters of shadow. moonlit hyenas with eyes like polished glass, owls whose wings make no sound. They don't howl or roar. They watch. They wait. It is said they come for those who carry hidden guilt. You might hear them first as a rustling wind, or see twin glints reflected in the tall grass. But if the air stills and the moon turns sharp and silver, they are close. To villagers, the Zvidhoma were caution and consequence given shape. A way to remind children, your actions echo in the night. But they were more than just monsters. They were powerful enforcers of balance. Hyena, owl, jackal, creatures most active when humans sleep. A spiritual justice system cloaked in fur and wing, quietly watching beneath the lunar eye. In the towering Andes of South America, above the tree line where the stars feel close enough to touch, the Apus, sacred mountain spirits, wake beneath the full moon. The Quechua people believe each sacred mountain is alive, ancient, and deeply aware. And on moon-drenched nights, the Apus stir. They descend in cloaks of puma fur and condor feathers, not as gods, but powerful guardians, checking the pulse of the valleys. Some tales say they walk in silence, their feet never touching soil. Others say they hum songs of ice and stone, calling the villagers to dream deep, to listen to the wisdom of the earth. In one whispered myth, a young woman weaving by candlelight left her home during a full moon and saw a tall figure stand in atop a ridge, wrapped in fur, antlers rising like branches. He raised one hand. The wind stopped. Her loom thread turned to silver. When she returned, her dreams were forever changed, filled with visions from the mountains. In the Andean worldview, the moon isn't just a phase. It's a living presence, an awakening, a summons to honor the land and the ancient spirits that sleep beneath it. And out in the farthest north, in the icy stillness of the Inuit Arctic, the stories change again. But still, the moon remains, watching. Here they speak of Aningaat, the moon spirit, the celestial brother who eternally chases the sun. His sister, Sikanik, the sun, fled him long ago. Some say after he wronged her, others say simply out of sorrow. Now, Aningaat runs across the sky, night after night, trying to catch her. Only during a rare eclipse does he succeed in a brief moment of union. And then, she slips away again. Some say the moon's soft glow is his gentle grief. Others believe it is pure longing made visible, an ache so bright it can light the snow. To the Inuit, Aningaat is not evil. He is not a beast. He is simply yearning. His story teaches us that even the vast sky holds regrets. Even the bright moon is lonely. Across continents, the full moon doesn't just awaken ancient creatures. It awakens profound truths about balance, about grief, about our deep ties to the land, to story, to each other. The creatures and spirits born of lunar lore aren't just fantasy. They are metaphors, with teeth, lessons draped in feathers, dreams wrapped in shadow. The full moon pulls at us, not just at tide or blood, but at the parts of ourselves we've buried deep. What stirs in you when the sky glows silver? What connects all these diverse creatures? They arrive when the world is silvery and strange, when shadows stretch long and logic softens, when our minds open just enough to hear other stories. Stories that remind us the full moon doesn't just illuminate, it summons, and maybe, Just maybe, the creatures it calls aren't out there in the woods. They're already in us, waiting to be seen, to be understood. Why do these creatures call to us night after night across centuries? The Rusalki, the Tsukumogami, the werewolves, the moonstruck shapeshifters of every culture. They weren't just invented to scare us. They were built to see us. The folklore may change from forest to forest, shore to shore, but beneath the surface, the pattern is hauntingly familiar. A creature born of duality, human and not, flesh and dream. Always tethered to something larger, something wild. These aren't just monsters of the night. They are powerful mirrors. And the moon? She is the light that reveals them. In mythology, full moons mark a threshold, a swelling, a moment when what is hidden can no longer be kept hidden. It's when secrets leak out, when emotions rise like powerful tides, when we are most tempted to run barefoot into the dark and become something else entirely. Have you ever noticed how people often open up more under moonlight? Late night talks, strange, vivid dreams, sudden tears, or unexpected bursts of laughter. There's a deep reason for that. The moon doesn't illuminate the same way the sun does. She doesn't blaze or blind. She coaxes. She invites. And through her, the creatures we invent, wolves that rage, spirits that mourn, beasts that protect, give form to our most mysterious inner states. The werewolf isn't just about primal fear. It's about transformation you didn't ask for, or perhaps secretly longed for. The Rusalka isn't just about seduction or vengeance. She's grief, given beautiful form, still searching for justice or peace. These myths don't just teach, they witness. They hold space for all the parts of you that don't quite fit in the daylight version of your life. The rage, the longing, the profound silence, the ancient parts of you still tuned to moon rhythms and animal instincts. And you know what? That's not a flaw. That's not madness. That's part of being beautifully, messily human. Our ancestors understood this. They didn't banish the beasts. They gave them stories. And maybe that's our work too. To stop pretending we are so utterly tame, to reclaim the wild parts of ourselves, not with fear, but with reverence, to let the moonlight show us not what we should be, but what we already are when we stop pretending. So as you sit here, or lie beneath your blanket, or drive through a quiet street under tonight's moon, ask yourself, what part of me awakens when the world goes quiet? What would I become if I stopped being afraid of the dark? And who waits for me there? Let's step carefully now into that twilight place where science and story shake hands. We've followed the myths. Now let's peer at the evidence and maybe uncover some truths that feel older than memory. First, let's talk about the very word, lunacy. It comes from the Latin luna, meaning the moon. It's no coincidence. For centuries, madness and moonlight were thought to be tightly connected. In medieval Europe, it was a common belief that the full moon could literally unhinge the mind. In fact, records from 18th century asylums, yes, real ones, documented clear spikes in agitation, insomnia, and even violent outbursts around the full moon. Some institutions scheduled extra staff. Others simply locked more doors. And it wasn't just superstition. Philosophers like Aristotle and physicians of the Renaissance theorized that since the moon pulls on ocean tides, it might also disturb the humors of the body, or, importantly, our water-rich brains. The idea wasn't just a pretty metaphor either. It was considered serious medicine at the time. Even Pliny the Elder, a Roman naturalist, wrote that the moon's power could disturb the balance of the mind, just as it stirred the ocean. Were they entirely wrong? Or were they just using different words to describe the same powerful pull, the same surge, the same sleepless fire we still feel today? Now to the modern moon watchers. Today, scientists have advanced tools, EEGs, melatonin scans, sleep tracking. And guess what? The research, while sometimes complex, shows a fascinating pattern. During the full moon, many people experience lower melatonin levels, the hormone that helps you sleep. Delayed sleep onset. It takes longer to fall asleep. Shorter and lighter sleep overall. Increased vivid, surreal dreams. One Swiss study from the University of Basel found these effects so striking, they called the full moon's impact consistent and measurable, even in rooms with no windows. In other words, even if you're in a dark hotel room binging snack food, the moon still might find you, affecting your slumber. And it's not just sleep. Emergency rooms often report small upticks in patients on full moon nights. Police logs sometimes swell. Some psychiatric wards quietly brace for a bit more chaos. And ask any teacher, they'll tell you, no one needs a moon calendar. The kids often show it in their eyes and energy levels. Now, to be fair, some of this might be what scientists call confirmation bias, where we look for patterns we expect to see. Studies can conflict, but too many anecdotes echo the same primal howl to ignore it completely. Something stirs. Let's go deeper, ancient again. Consider the Norse berserkers, fierce warriors who fought in a trance-like rage and were said to be mysteriously awakened and fueled by the full moon. Or the very real medieval werewolf trials in France and Germany. Actual historical events where people were accused not just of witchcraft, but of literally transforming into wolves under the moon's light. In some horrifying accounts, entire villages claimed to hear the cries of animals that were once men. Church bells rang not to summon worship, but specifically to keep the beasts away. It wasn't just story. It was deeply recorded fear. And in the quiet space between modern science and ancient superstition, you start to wonder, were they just imagining it? Or were they simply describing what they couldn't yet measure or understand with their tools? Here's a truth that doesn't need magic to be powerful. The moon affects circadian rhythms, our internal body clock, tidal pull, our emotional regulation, and potentially the mysterious in-between states of our psyche. Even now, some hospitals adjust their OB staff during full moons because yes, more babies are often born. Nurses joke about it, but the charts often hold steady. We are still, at our core, lunar creatures, still subtly haunted by gravity and by ancient rhythms. So when you find yourself pacing on a full moon night, your thoughts unruly, your dreams unraveled, know that you're not flawed or broken. Instead, you're simply tuned to an ancient rhythm one that howled before we even had words, one that remembers when myth was medicine and what we called madness was simply moonlight. Don't fear the pull. Feel it, use it, write, create, dream wilder. Or simply open a window, let the silver light in, and remember, some transformations are meant to happen under moonlight. Don't fear the pull. Feel it, use it, write, create, dream wilder. Or simply open a window, let the silver light in, and remember, some transformations are meant to happen under moonlight. Thank you for wandering with me tonight through shadow and story, howl and moonbeam. The full moon doesn't ask us to behave. It asks us to become. To awaken the part of ourselves we often silence, the wild part, the wise part, the watcher in the dark. And as the moon begins to slip from her throne in the sky, you may feel it. That shimmer still lingering on your skin, a question still stirring in your heart. Let it stay with you. Let it hunt with you. And if the wildness of the moon still echoes in you, come back Tuesday, when I'll return to guide you into gentler realms. We'll explore nighttime rituals across cultures, from moonlit baths in ancient Rome to fire dances under desert stars. Together, we'll ask, what did the ancients know about night that we've forgotten? And how might we reclaim it? Bring your curiosity, bring your calm. The night is waiting. Until next time, my dreamers and dusk chasers. Tonight, I'm Wild Dragons, and this has been Dusk and Dreams. Stay strange, stay free, and watch the moon. Open your mind and heart to listen and learn. And remember, the night listens back. It's been a privilege to guide you through another night on Dusk and Dreams. If this podcast helps you find peace, spark creativity, or simply offers a moment of captivating escape, please consider following or subscribing wherever you listen. Your support helps us build this community of night-minded souls. We're available on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon, as well as many others. To learn more about the show or connect with the Dragons Dusk and Dreams team, visit www.breakgrid.com or follow me on Instagram at YarrowDiamond. Until then, may your nights be filled with all that you wish them to be.